Dear students, hope you are great. Today we are going to talk about Chapter 3, Lesson 5, Endothermic Reaction. First, we should know the meaning of endothermic reaction or endothermic process. So, what's meant by endothermic process? Endothermic process is a process or reaction that absorb energy. For example, look at this picture. This is a toaster. Inside it, there is a toast. What happened when you put a bread or a toast inside the toaster? The bread will absorb the heat from the surrounding or from the toaster, and the bread become or turn crispy and brown. The bread is absorbing heat from its surrounding. This is a reaction. This is a reaction happened inside the bread. This reaction called what? Endothermic reaction or endothermic process. Why called endothermic process? Because the bread absorb heat plus heat and turn into brown or crispy bread or crispy toast. Right? So this reaction, bread or toast react with or absorb heat from the toaster and turn into brown bread or crispy bread. So this is a reaction happened. New substance will formed. This new substance is crispy and brown. Brown bread, this is a new substance. Endothermic reaction have a word equation in the following form. Reactant react with or absorb heat and form the product, like example of bread or toast. Toast, which is a reactant, absorb the heat and form a product, form a brown bread or crispy bread. This is a product. This reaction called endothermic reaction. Another example of endothermic reaction. Another example, which is a photosynthesis process. What happened inside the photosynthesis process? Photosynthesis process. In photosynthesis process, plant like this will absorb water from the soil and carbon dioxide from the air, and in presence of sunlight or leaves absorb sunlight, form what or give us what? The product will be sugar and oxygen. So this is a reaction which is called what? Endothermic reaction. As in the reactant, the leaves or the plant absorb energy or absorb heat which is come from sunlight. So in the photosynthesis process, plant absorb the water from soil, carbon dioxide from the air, and absorb energy or heat from the sunlight and give us sugar and oxygen. Sugar is a food for plant. Okay, and oxygen. So this is another example of endothermic reaction. Breaking bonds in an endothermic reaction. All chemical reactions include bond making and bond breaking. They both release and absorb energy. Endothermic reaction absorb more energy than it releases. Like an example of photosynthesis or of toast or bread. Bread absorb heat, absorb energy, then it releases it, as here in the plant. Plant absorb sunlight or absorb energy from the sunlight more than it releases it, as in this reaction. If the plant will absorb heat, not release heat. So this is endothermic reaction. Example, photosynthesis, it takes energy from break the reactant. Bond breaking is an endothermic process. It takes more energy to break the bond in the carbon dioxide and water than to form the bond in the sugar and oxygen. Look here. In this example, in the example of photosynthesis process, water which is H2O plus carbon dioxide which is CO2 in presence of sunlight, or when the plant absorbs sunlight, in presence of sunlight, or absorb energy from sunlight, or absorb heat, what happened? This heat will use it, or this energy will use it to break this bond, to break the bond between hydrogen and oxygen, and break the bond between carbon and oxygen to form a product. As inside the reactant there is a bond, as between hydrogen and oxygen in the water there is a bond, and between carbon and oxygen in carbon dioxide there is a bond. So plant need sunlight, or need a heat, need an energy to break this bond, to break it and form sugar and plus oxygen and oxygen. So in endothermic reaction we need heat, energy, or in the example of photosynthesis we need the sunlight to break the reactant, to break the bond between reactants, to break the bond like this between hydrogen and oxygen, and between carbon and oxygen, to form what? To form the product. In the example of photosynthesis, which is sugar and oxygen. So in endothermic reaction we need the energy. It takes, in photosynthesis process or in endothermic reaction, it takes energy to break the reactant, to break water and carbon bonds between water, a bond in carbon dioxide. Bond breaking is an endothermic process. It takes more energy to break the bond, so we need the energy, or we need the heat, or we need sunlight in example of photosynthesis process to break this bond and form a product. Another example of endothermic process, when ammonia nitrate dissolve in water, this process is endothermic reaction or endothermic process. Ammonia nitrate absorbs heat from the surrounding, which is cold pack. Look at this picture. This is a cold pack. Inside this cold pack there is a substance which is called ammonia nitrate. Ammonia nitrate has a property as it absorbs the heat from the environment or from the surrounding. So in this example, look, if you have a pain or inflammation in your body, we use cold pack or the ammonia nitrate to absorb this pain, or to absorb this heat from the pain. If we have a pain in your leg, like this example, like this person, like the person here, there is an inflamed part, so we use cold pack, which is consist of ammonia nitrate, to absorb this heat from the pain. This process or this reaction called endothermic reaction. Melting and evaporation is an also endothermic process, as in melting, when ice like this melt, so ice absorb heat and turned into liquid, right? This process called melting. So this reaction called what? Endothermic process or endothermic reaction. As endothermic process, as ice absorb the heat from the surrounding and turn into liquid, so absorb what? Heat. So this process called endothermic process. Another example, evaporation. To evaporate water, or to evaporate a liquid, to turn a liquid to gas, we need what? We need the heat. So we add heat to the liquid, so the liquid absorb the heat and turn into gas or water vapor. Like example, like when you put water in a boiler or in a kettle, what happened? The water inside the boil or inside the kettle will absorb the heat from the kettle and then turn into vapor. So this process called endothermic process. Last one, distillation. What's meant by distillation? Distillation is a process of purifying a substance by heating and cooling. If we have unpurified water. Water consists to contain insects, bacteria, sands, and any other materials. So you want to purify this water. We use a process called distillation. Look at this picture. Look at this instrument. We heat the water, unpurified water, seawater, or if you have seawater and want to purify it. We add seawater on unpurified water here and heat it, so the water or the liquid turned into vapor like this. And this vapor passed through this tube. What happened in this tube? This tube surrounded by condenser. This condenser, or the properties of this condenser, to cool down the water vapor, So what happened after we cooled the water vapor? It turned into what? It turned into water, right? When water vapor, which is very hot, cools, it turned into liquid. This happened here. When a vapor that comes from liquid after heated, it passed through the tube, and the tube is surrounded by a condenser. The process or the properties of condenser is used to cool down the vapor. When cooled the vapor, it turned into liquid, like in the condensation process. In condensation, what's meant by condensation process? Condensation process is turned from a vapor or from a gas to liquid. This happened here. When the vapor cooled down by condenser, it turned into liquid. This liquid pass in this beaker, pour in this beaker as a droplet. This droplet is a pure water. So what happened to the salt? Salt will left or settled here. Again, if we have seawater and want to purify this water, we should use a distillation process to purify this water. What happened in the process? We heat the water. This seawater. We heat the seawater, so the water will evaporate like this and pass through the tube. And this tube is surrounded by a condenser. The process of this condenser to cool down the water vapor. After water vapor will cool down, it turned into liquid. It turned into pure liquid or pure water. And the salt or unpurified material will settle down here, at the bottom of the beaker. This process or this instrument called distillation process. So distillation is a process we use it to what? To purify substance, to purify water by heating and cooling. As we use a heat to turn water into vapor, and we use a cooling to turn the vapor into pure water, to turn the vapor into liquid. That's it. Thanks for watching.